Kayleigh Sumner, the Head of Positive Education and Wellbeing and child psychologist. Joining us today, we also had Liudmila Oberfeld, who is a Regent Parent, a linguist and educator. So with it being a very broad topic, what we've done is collated the latest research on learning and supporting children with resilience, and also some practical strategies. So it's just a case of taking away what fits for you. It's important to note that children's development is not linear. They're all different. They have different rates of progress, different abilities and passions. So it's just about having an understanding and awareness of, okay, what do we understand about brain development in today's current knowledge, and what practical strategies could we try that might apply to supporting our children with their learning in school and at home. So what we'll touch upon today is mindful parenting, study habits, growth mindset, learners' autonomy, and then we'll share some case studies with you and go through some of the questions that you submitted before coming to this workshop. It's very important to start with mindful parenting because what we understand from the research is that, good morning, categorically what comes up as the biggest indicator to support a child's well-being and engagement with learning is the adults around them. That is one of the key contributors. And so with mindful parenting, it's just really having an awareness of how children are impacted by what we do, what we say, and how we approach things. So often parents don't prioritise their own well-being due to the nature of parenting and the demands of life, but it's one of the best things you can do for your children, because if parents feel well and less stressed, the children are going to feel better and less stressed, because there is something known as mirror neurons, and this is key to child development. So children unconsciously mirror the behaviour of the adults around them. They're not aware they're doing this, but when we're stressed and overwhelmed, they will automatically feel that and mimic that behaviour. And that's part of their brain development and how they're understanding the world around them. So we often have these conversations around, a lot of you ask questions about homework. It's natural, we're all human, we get stressed, we're doing so many things, but when we're projecting stress, they'll project the same back with us. So that's where it's important that we do whatever we can to take care of ourselves and recharge ourselves, because calmness really is contagious. When children are in an environment where adults are feeling calm, they will automatically replicate that state. Also, another key finding from the research, linked to our emotional states as well, is the importance of social relationships and social connections. For children to engage with learning, they have to feel well. They have to have a good sense of well-being. That's the key indicator. And they can only do that when they feel connected to those around them. So that is a primary focus in school. We survey the children every term. They say children right from FS to secondary and beyond say their main motivator to come into school is to play with the friends and be with the friends, because they have that sense of belonging and connection. So it's important for us to understand that in the context of Dubai, it's very transient, and they have friends and make relationships, and then those friends leave suddenly, and it can have a huge impact on them, sometimes more than we understand. I know the children that I see and work with, one of their best friends have left, they've come back the next academic year, they haven't had a chance to say goodbye, and it can really unsettle them, and that's really going to impact their learning. And also for us as adults, most of us have left our home countries, our social connections, families, friends, and that has an impact on our well-being, which is why we find having these types of mornings and And any event where parents are coming into school and have opportunities to build connections with each other is a really helpful thing to supporting ourselves and our children as well. And perfection is unattainable, and we do the best that we can with what we know, and when we know more, we do more. When we know better, we do better. So I think it's really important for that to be a key message. None of our parents were perfect, and us as parents will not be perfect. We'll make mistakes along the way, and that's absolutely fine. It's just about being able to reflect upon what we now understand of child development, because it has changed hugely within the research to what it was historically when we were raised. It's very different now, and that's why it's important that we share these approaches and strategies with you. And all behaviour is communication is really a key philosophy around what we do in school. We have a big drive on positive education, which is linked to promoting optimal well-being and character development. And what we often do is we label children. We're all guilty of doing this as being, disruptive or not cooperative or challenging, or when they're not listening to us. It's natural to do that, but what that does, it makes us respond in a way that isn't going to be the most conducive to supporting them to move on with their learning. So it's all about how we view things and frame things. So when we're seeing behaviour that we see as undesirable or that's causing us stress because we get triggered from our own past experiences, is not to take it personally and ask the question, what is it that they're trying to communicate with me in this moment? Okay, I'll hand you over to the... Yeah.
I have one. I have my mic.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks. Good morning. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Liudmila Oberfeld. I'm a parent here at Regent. My son is in year 2. And I just wanted to continue the last bit that Kayleigh mentioned here about setting example and leading with example. My child fairly recently started to tell me that he actually feels the moment that my stress starts building up. It doesn't have to do with homework, it can have to do with any kind of activity. So he discussed it with me in a very grown-up manner and asked, "Mommy, would it be okay if I notice that you are getting mad at me, maybe because you are hungry, or maybe because you didn't have enough sleep?" It's coming from him, right? If I notice that, would it be okay if I ask you to go to another room and breathe a little bit? That was quite an eye-opener. And yes, indeed, this is what I tell him when I notice that he is stressed and mad and angry because he's hangry. But it's great that this comes back as well, right? So I think this is what we all are going for, including the moments when we are doing homework. Okay, well, first of all, let me dive right into routines and schedules. Do you guys have any bedtime routines? A quick show of hands. Do you have any bedtime routines? Yeah, okay. Routines like reading to your children? Yeah, okay. Anything like dinner table conversation or conversation on the way in the car? Yes, going to school, going back from school. So these are the routines, these are the things that you do consistently, regularly, hopefully something that you both enjoy, you as a parent and your child. And this is really helpful, and I'm going to give you some evidence and some specific examples of why this is helpful. How about schedules? Do you guys use schedules at home? You do. For you or for your child? For both. Because yes, I am nothing without my calendar. I wouldn't know where I'm going without it. I know a couple of people in the audience who are just like me. So yes, sometimes it's very helpful to know the exact time or the exact date by which things will happen. So schedule is helpful in this way. Actually, there is quite a recent research on routines and child development and how it helps. I circled the date here, but you obviously can't see, so I'm just going to tell you that it's 29th of April 2023. It's really very recent. So it details all the positive effects that routines can have on child's development, like 3 points that come forcefully forward is structure, predictability, and consistency. So when we're talking about structure, what we really mean is that children need to know what it is that they're doing to be able to complete the task, because otherwise it's kind of hanging in the air. So when you say you need to do your homework, it's a bit hanging in the air. But when you have a routine of sitting down with them and looking through the homework and listing the things to complete, this gives them the structure. Making decisions, again, structure helps us make decisions and basically perform any mental process. So, and attention and self-regulation also comes from structure and predictability. Predictability also gives us the opportunity to anticipate events, to understand that okay, Friday evening is the time when we sit down with mom and we make a fun game in word wall using the spelling words for the next week. This is my son's and my routine, and he knows it, and it's consistent, and he anticipates it. And it helps reduce stress because you know what's coming. And also, it helps to focus on learning the skill rather than bickering, and telling your mom that you're not going to do it, and things like that. And important bit is being consistent, because if it happens once in a while, well, it just doesn't work, does it? It just doesn't create this habit, because children are creatures of habit. We all are, I think. Well, children are to even greater extent. So when it's regular and when it's consistent and when it comes every Friday at a particular time or every Saturday at a particular time, it's helpful for them to regulate their thoughts, their emotions, and their behavior as well. But obviously, this is not just for the sake of the children, it's also for us. For us, it's very helpful because it helps us to stay at the steering wheel, as I say. So we all, not all of us, but some of us would probably want to be friends with our children. But let's remember, we are not quite that. We're not the friends. We are the captains of our ship. We are in charge, and the children can learn that we are in charge through us introducing those things that happen to them regularly, like bedtime reading. It doesn't have to be homework, like having dinner conversation about the day and things like that. And it also is helpful in setting boundaries. When I was preparing to this talk, I was talking to some of you before picking up our children. And one of the moms mentioned that the biggest issue she's having is to have her child get away from iPad and onto homework. And this is where setting boundaries is the only thing that can help. The routine of having timed, 30 minutes for this, and then timed 40 minutes, 35 minutes, however, it depends on your child, obviously. For that, it is something that should come from you, has to come from you, and this is all about setting boundaries. But it's not just about being, the boss, being in charge. It's also about bonding. I keep mentioning reading as an ultimate bonding experience. For me, it's the bonding experience of choice, especially when your child is getting into English, learning English. It is extremely helpful to have a routine of reading to them every night, and it's about you reading. Stop yourself from jumping into, asking them, do you know this word? Can you read this to me? Like, make reading separate, enjoyable experience. And showcasing the values, it's more about secondary school parents, secondary student parents. It's all about when you have the dinner conversations, if they see you are closing up and you are not relating your day, and you're not sharing your troubles and what bothers you sincerely with them, why would they? I mean, when you ask your teenage son or daughter about their day, and you're not there to share your day and your issues you're going through, not in all the details, obviously, with them, this is one example of not living up to your own values. But schedules is something different. Schedules has time stamps or dates by which you have to finish something. It can be as helpful as it could be annoying and unnerving, because when, okay, I have 9 to 10 to finish this, it's 5 to 10 and I haven't, it can get a little bit stressful. So I find this very useful, these tips. You notice here is a source, so it's a whole article about it. If you're interested, just let me know and I'll give you the links, the physical links to these websites. So it explains the tips of making a schedule that does work. And one of the things here is to embrace flexibility. I think this is the most important thing. If your child comes from school and you have a schedule, and according to this schedule, the child is supposed to sit and do his something. I don't know, reading for X minutes. And he comes, or she comes, I have a son, so he comes. They come and you see they're too tired or agitated, or maybe they are unsettled by learning that their friend moved out of the country. Something upset them. This is when it's time to be flexible and change the schedule and move things around. Because this is a very good teaching moment, because life is not set in stone, because they are going to encounter situations when things change and you have to move things on the schedule. Keep it simple is also very important, because complexity intimidates. When you have multi-layered lists of things, to be done and schemes and stuff, this can intimidate. So try not to do that. And one other thing that is extremely important, I think, is involving your child in making those schedules. If you do that, it's no longer my mom totally controls my life, right? You're not totally controlling their life. They're the ones who are part of the decision. They're the ones who decide with you, and this is a contract that you are signing, that you are going to do it this way or that way. These are just some tricks that definitely work for me and for some of my friends and clients. One, you have to understand that when you ask your child, prioritize your tasks, you got a blank look. Like, do what? You have to do it for them. On initial stage, definitely. Or at least help them in that. So, show of hands, who likes to do the complicated stuff first before doing the easy things? Yeah, okay. So my child is like that. So I help him prioritize. We sit together and we decide which of the things that he's about to do are the most difficult for him, and we prioritize them to just get them out of the way, get done with it. And when I say you need to break there is the saying, how to eat an elephant. Well, bite by bite. You have to split the big, huge task into digestible bits. And this has to do with secondary, well, as well as primary. For primary, we had this task of showing our cultures, sharing the traditional food and the traditional costume. And my son initially got all frustrated and scared of the task because it seemed very big to him, because it was not just about naming, it was also about deciding on the visuals and things. So you can distribute it through the week. You can name the days of the week where you are going to do this bit and this bit and this bit. But again, your child will probably be unable to do it for themselves. So here is where you step in for splitting the elephant. And tomato technique is something that I'm going to mention a bit later. Celebrate milestones, please do. Whenever, it's like with plumbers, we only notice plumbers when something goes wrong. Same with children and homework. We only seem to notice when something goes spectacularly to pieces, when everything goes wrong. But every time it goes right, we really need to say, yay, you did it. Oh, sorry. Not now. So do celebrate milestones with a cookie, with an extra hug, with a drawing, with a badge, with a sticker, with something physical. It's lovely when it's physical. And just to, I'm sorry, I think we have to, Kelly? No, I just can't move it with my clicker because, okay. Can you change the slide for me? Okay, I'll start explaining it to you while, here it is. It's called tomato technique or Pomodoro technique. Oh, by the way, those of you who have students in secondary, and just for your own fun and interest, I was going to say this side, it's not there. There is this website called Sketchplanations, and it has lovely way of graphically describing concepts. So this technique is basically your cooking timer. Cooking timers, simple ones. You set them for 25 minutes, and you say very clearly, hello, setting boundaries. You say very clearly that for 25 minutes you don't have any gadgets, any toy, bare environment around you. You just concentrate on your task. For 25 minutes is not long. The moment you hear this bing, this blip, you stop for 5 minutes. And when you stop for 5 minutes, and this has to do with us, the parents, not with the children, when you stop for 5 minutes, you don't sneakishly do the job. You don't keep doing the job while on this break. And sometimes when you're in the flow, again, this is more for secondary than for primary. For primary, 25 by 5 works like a charm, You just work for 25 minutes, then you'll have your 5-minute break. For grown-ups and for secondary students, it's best to work in larger chunks. So you set 4 times your timer, so 4 chunks by 25 minutes, and then you have a longer break, like an hour break. Just let me. We really need to have the slides back because it's all about being visual. The next bit. But when schedules with times on them don't really seem to work, this is probably because you don't have. Because you don't have the things in place that motivate your child and make them happy about their achievement. This piece of technology is a lifesaver. this piece of technology, this one. So what I do with my child, I sit him down and we go through Seesaw and Education City, primary school students, parents would understand what I mean. And we just write out the things. Okay, 3 math games, 2 books, what else? Games for spelling test. We write this all out on this, Arabic writing, Arabic reading. We call it a to-do list. And then, what is very helpful, these are water-based markers, right? They can be erased easily. So he happily erases the thing that he has already done. Sometimes it is really very satisfying to not just cross out, but erase the thing that you have already done. Or sometimes he just puts check marks, and it's okay. When the slides will come back, I will show you a very nice little thing for younger children, for FS children, how to do that. And also for children of secondary school age, when you have, for example, when they have a project, and you help them to visualize the flow of things that need to be done, so that they can put ticks in the boxes and know that, okay, I'm now here. Okay. Here's one. Let me have a look at what else I have. Because I think yes.
Sorry about the technical issues. We do have IT on the way. Just while this bit is quite visual for you to see the schedules. So what I'll do now is share the research that I was going to talk about next, about the growth mindset. So I did my doctoral research on how we can support children with academic resilience. And what we found was that it wasn't cognitive ability that was the biggest predictor of success. It was actually mindset. And so we explored a theory called the growth mindset, which was developed by a lady called Professor Carol Dweck. And this was based on over 30 years of research that she did with children and young people. And what she was looking at is, why do some children persist in the face of adversity and others give up? Because ultimately that is what leads to successful learners, those that can persist when things become challenging. And what we find in school is that often children can be terrified of making mistakes because of their self-esteem, because of the social implications of making mistakes in front of others. And this is a huge barrier to the learning, and this is what she found in her research, that the way that school systems are set up and structured, being exam-based, the language that we use as adults with children and young people, it actually instills the opposite of having a growth mindset, which is why we see behaviours in children and young people where they will see a challenging task and think, oh no, I won't even give that a go, that's too hard. When we know they actually could try, and often they would be relatively successful at it. And what we understand about learning is that in order for children to develop the skills, they have to put themselves out of the comfort zone. That's the only way they're going to stretch themselves. We find often high attainers or the students who, actually I won't try that because that looks really challenging, and the narrative around me is that I always achieve and I always get the highest grade. Therefore, if I try this and it's challenging, it's going to disprove that theory that the adults around me have. And that was something quite profound that she discovered in her research. It's called a fixed mindset, and it's a belief that our ability is simply innate, and it's not something that grows and develops over time with input, which a growth mindset is the belief that our ability grows with effort and persistence. And they sound very simplistic, but in terms of the messages that we give children can influence whether they have a fixed or a growth mindset. It is something we train our teaching staff on, so right from early years we promote a growth mindset. An early years environment itself is set up to promote a growth mindset. They are exploring their environment, they take risks, they engage in challenges, but somewhere along the way, probably in key stage 2, we lose that with our children and young people, because everything becomes very formalised and everything becomes graded, and then it can create, this dynamic within classrooms and within students' internal worlds where they're placing judgments on themselves. So that's something we have to be mindful of. It is the system we're in, but we can do things that counteract the challenges that students face with constantly having judgments put against their ability. And some of the ways that we do this is encouraging effort and persistence. We focus a lot on grades, and absolutely children come to school to learn, and there's an expectation that they'll leave here with the best attainment that they can get, categorically. But they have to fail at things sometimes in order to get there. So we find that rather than just focus on the end grade, celebrate where they've put in effort and persistence in something that they've really struggled in, and then move forward that little bit more. For me, that's worth more of a celebration than something that they're naturally quite good at and attaining and achieving in, because then they're internalising, okay, so in this situation, it's not just the highest score that's mattered, it's where I've made improvement and progress, and that's really key to their learning. And fostering a positive attitude towards mistakes. This is all about trying to counteract that fear they have about making mistakes. We're the same as adults. Nobody really wants to share their mistakes or feel like they're incompetent. We're humans and we make them. Everybody makes them every day, but we tend to conceal them from others and from our children and young people. And children and young people notice that we don't share them, or we're not having conversation around our failures and how we've had to persist in the face of adversities, and they internalise that as something to be ashamed of, making mistakes, disproving that they are intelligent. So the more we're able to say to them when they make mistakes, it's okay, we're expecting this, that's how we develop and learn, then the more it normalises those conversations. And we do try and promote this in the classroom as well, so that there isn't a fear, because when there's a fear of making mistakes, it will hinder their progress and their ability to stretch themselves. So modelling that ourselves, and we ask teachers that if they make a spelling mistake on the board, share that with the children. Children are like, oh, I admit the teacher made a mistake. They don't know everything, nobody does. Setting realistic and challenging goals. And this was a key indicator of children's success academically, because they have to be part of the process of their learning. They have so much put onto them by the curriculum, by the ways of the teachers and parents. There's so many expectations placed on them, but what do they actually want? What are their goals? And when we can involve them in the process of setting their own goals, they might not know, they might need scaffolding with that, but where there's opportunities to do that, that taps into their intrinsic motivation, and they're likely to complete things and be more successful with the learning where they have been involved in goal settings. It's all about empowerment and promoting a love for learning, which is, we'll go on to talk about a little bit more in terms of how to engage them in subjects they're not really interested in, which is always a challenge. And the power of yet is another way we can promote a growth mindset. Carol Dweck did some research where they gave children some test papers, and at the end of the first test, they both have a different set of feedback. One group had the feedback, well done, you're very smart, and the other group had the feedback, well done, you persisted, you're not there yet. But there was something about the use of the word yet that really supported children to then take on more challenging tasks, because when they were both sets were given new papers, they were told there was an easier one or a harder one. The children that were called smart chose the easier paper. The children that were praised for effort and told you're not quite there yet chose the harder paper. So it's just interesting our use of language and how that supports children to want to try and take on challenges.
Just to demonstrate the thing that I wanted. This is the Pomodoro technique and Sketch Formation's website, and this is the my favorite visual for little kids. Instead of putting eat breakfast, brush teeth, and things like that, you can actually put the names of the tasks that they are supposed to do, and this link here will lead you to the place where it is all explained step by step how to make this little thing. And it really works for smaller children, but I think it could work for primary as well. And this is the bit I meant for the secondary, where you have a project due in 3 weeks. So for 1 day you're going to do this, and then for 1 week you're doing that, and space to put a tick in, done, and also this tables where you put what you look at and what you think about it, what you agree or disagree with. It gives this structure to the thought process, and the structure of a thought process is really helpful to get along. Yeah, and this is the thing that my son happily erased to do. So, importantly, starting at the very early age and on and on and on, we are striving for our children's autonomy. We want them to be able to get information and store it in their heads for eternity and use it in their grown-up lives and be able to do it during their grown-up stages. So, importantly, when your child is avoiding something, you probably have some bits of homework that your children hate, and they'd rather do anything. They have to eat, they have to drink, they have to go pee. They have all these things they can think of rather than doing the thing. So this is a very good, well, not good, a very important red flag for you. It means that this is the thing they find difficult. And it means that you can do something, but making it different. With the help of prompts, reasonable prompts, that you are going to remove in the future, but initially it helps to decrease the anxiety around the thing that they are doing and not happy doing. And also the way you correct mistakes. The thing that Dr. Sumner mentioned is extremely important. You don't just jump in and say, you did it wrong. For example, when they're reading, you don't just jump in and say, no, this is the way to read the word. What to do instead, I'm going to share with you on the next slide with a visual. And deal with everything, all the mistakes, with curiosity rather than control. What I mean by that is, oh, look, this is not the way you should read it. I wonder why. So this launches the thought process. Rather than you keep feeding them the answer, you launch their thought process, and this motivates them to remember things, or it shows you that they don't actually know things. They don't know the rule behind it. They don't know that there is a rule, actually. So just to give you a very simple example, this is taken from a book, from the library book, right? So you have here the text. You as a parent can pre-read it, and you can always forecast the kind of things that will create difficulty for your child. For example, it took my child a while to get the air trigraph, that it's read this way. So I put it out on display, and I direct him to this display whenever this word is coming, not after he mispronounced the word, before he pronounces the word. So he goes with his finger, he approaches the word, and he kind of thinks that he might struggle with this one. And you quietly direct him at the board. You can, in advance, talk through all this, and then that's where it kicks in. And, okay, care. I have all the digraphs and trigraphs written out here. Okay. What I usually do, I just use, again, this thing with magnets. And I also like to couple words that are similar. So it's, yeah. So it's like bear, pear, you put it together and you make a sentence out of it. A bear eats a pear. A bear has a pear. A bear hates a pear eats a bear. You're having fun with it. And this is the process by which it sticks. And with dare and care, same. Enter if you dare, I don't care was the prompt that we made. So every time we are approaching dare or air word, I'm making a goose. You remember that? It's that particular combination of letters. And for example, the child mispronounced this word night and starts saying or says you do not, well, the intuition tells us that you should say night, it's night. Stop yourself at that very point of time, point at the board, repeat the trigraph I, and then try again, and let's go by letters. A good way to do it is have a pencil and put the pencil on each of the sounds. It. So this way it sticks. This way the child is not afraid of you as the kind of person who is going to see his mistakes and call out on him for his mistakes. You are not good enough for making it. And this is what I called engaging. This is my child, and this is us doing word wall. Word wall is unfortunately a slightly paid program. It's not very expensive, but you have to pay to do this kind of things. By introducing just a list of words and visuals to match them with, you get a lot of games that you can then play to practice the skill. If you're interested, I can give you more information on that. So here is the word written. That's pretty tricky. And the thing about engaging here is that rather than picking the pictures from stock images, because WordWall gives you this opportunity, you just print in the word and you get all the different photos and you can choose from them, which is also engaging, by the way. My child enjoys picking the photo that he finds most appealing. But sometimes you can also upload your own photos. And it's nice to make it into a challenge when you practice spelling for the spelling test. Try to make as many own illustrations and words with photos or with pictures as possible. This is my student who did village, and I love this one, change. This is changing from a frog to a daisy street. Love it. By doing so, they feel that they are in control of the process. They feel they are part of it, and it is not something that is imposed on them, but rather this is something that you do with them, and you have fun about it, and you can keep changing the pictures, and you can keep changing the order, and do a lot of other funny things. But you can also go an extra mile. I'm not sure you can see it clearly, so I'll just talk you through this. Here, you know how children are supposed to write sentences with the words, and it sometimes is a bit boring for them, don't really like to do it. My child came up with a very nice idea. I supported him on that. Rather than writing 8 sentences, what if we find the word combinations that combine nicely in one sentence and write 4 sentences instead? Yay! Well, now some children would not appreciate that at all, but some would. Just try. Just give it a try. Don't assume they're not going to like it. They may just as well like it. And these little bits of paper, they also work surprisingly well. Whenever you give your child an opportunity to write on a sticky note, don't know what happens, but they're very happy to write on sticky notes and put them all over the place and play all kinds of games with them. So what we do, he basically writes his words several times. He writes them on sticky notes, then he writes them in the sentences, so it's repeating. And here, sentences are all mixed up, and you have to write on sticky note, cut it out, and put it instead of the wrong word. So here in the sentences, the word is wrong, it's written by me, and then the child is supposed to write the correct word and put it into the sentence on top of the wrong word. Quite engaging. Not everybody is happy to do that. One of the children I tried it with said, why are we doing it? Can we just, I have this worksheet, can we just fill in the worksheet? What was that? But other children enjoy doing it. So you have to experiment, I guess. And another thing is crosswords, making your own crosswords with your children. This is what I did, but they can do something simpler, and you can show them ways to do it. And it's very useful because it also develops spatial thinking, how to put the words together so that they cross in the right way. And also when you get this, speaking of dividing the elephant into sizable bites, right? When you have this huge list, try to get the logic of it and try to ask the child to get the logic of it. And group the words according to the things that might be challenging. Like here, intersect, interface, intercity, we grouped these 3 words together because of C turning to sound rather than K sound. This is with a year 4 student. It is important for them as well to keep practicing their style. As for the secondary, parents tend to concentrate on subjects like math and science, physics, but what we sometimes tend to forget is that ultimately the child is going to write their essays, they're going to write the exam papers, they're going to present things in a language, right? In the language, English. So, vocabulary, enrichment of vocabulary, is of paramount importance for every age, especially for secondary students. And there are fun ways to do it. One of the routines that helps develop vocabulary, TED Talks. Have you heard of TED Talks? Yeah? So these are short videos, 15, 16-minute videos by prominent scientists or activists and whatnot. It's best when it's curated, when you know what's coming, what they're going to tell. And sometimes it can be used as a way to provoke them. So you know that your child is going to disagree. You show him the TED Talk and you discuss it. And when you discuss it, you obviously have to use the words, appropriate words. And sometimes you will find that there are shorter words. And that's when it's great that you can demonstrate that you are humble and you don't know everything as well. I didn't know how to put it in English. Let's go check. Or, I think the word you're looking for is this, but it could also be this. Let's compare the 2 words. You can also recommend and discuss books or, articles, but this is for the children who actually like reading material rather than watching them. Not too many of those, I think. And also, just taking general interest in words. Have you heard of this website called Liudmila? No? Okay. Liudmila.com is a treasure. It's when you are not sure about how to pronounce a word. Liudmila.com. When you are not sure how to pronounce a word, you put it into the search engine, and it gives you several videos, and you can also select British English, American English, Australian English, all. And it gives you the set of videos, and it gives you navigation to go from one to the other. And this video starts demonstration from the word that you're interested in, and then goes on. For me, it was a fun way to discover TED Talks or lectures that I wouldn't have discovered otherwise. I just went to see how to pronounce the word, and oh, this is an interesting lecture. I want to watch it from the beginning, and it's hour long, 40 minutes long. But it's enough to have this exposure to show how to pronounce this particular word. So English, and sometimes it's very helpful to understand why sound is spelled this way, why there is B in that and doubt and dumb and things like that, and where does this phrase come from? Why it rains cats and dogs, things like that, and also why words tend to change meaning. And this is where it's a YouTube channel. I really can't stop recommending that website. It's called Rob Words. It's a YouTube channel. A very friendly guy tells you all about etymology, about quirks, as he calls it, quirks of English, about where the names of occupations come from. Very nice for projects, for small children, and very nice for a lively discussion for secondary students as well. And sometimes children get frustrated when they don't know the word. I don't know it. Well, there are ways to find out. There are other words surrounding it, and you might want to help them understand it from the surrounding words. But also, vocabulary.com is a fantastic resource because it doesn't only give you the very child-friendly definition without the big words or with minimum of big words. It also gives you quizzes. You can start taking quizzes and it takes you on and on and on. And it also gives you families of words that will help, again, expand the vocabulary. And it also gives you examples from books and articles. And you can study that. So it's a really, really useful website, vocabulary.com. And all of our students will ultimately have to face exams, right? All dreaded. And for that, it's very important to study effectively. I do recommend you to take a picture of this slide, but I'm going to distribute the slides anyway, if you like. So, if the child studies for exams, it is important to go with 3R. 3R is reading, and then recording, preferably in a particular way, and then reproducing, reviewing or reproducing to yourself or to your study buddy. I used to have a study buddy in the university, really worked for me, for the study buddy. So these are all different kinds of materials, like for instance, when you have a main idea and some supporting ideas, and you can make a diagram to demonstrate it, the dependence between the elements. But long story short, let me just give you an example. You will recognize it, right? This is an article about ecosystems, and while reading an article, it's very useful to put it, to make it into a visual scheme. This way, you can test yourself by covering these and trying to reproduce it, or you can review it by going along different lines like ecosystems and biology, what it consists of. It could be anything. It could be this, it could be mind maps, a whole different topic, I'm not going into it today. All I'm saying is that every kind of material, and you're the one, it should come from you, it could come from you, from us. Every kind of material has a nice way of recording it so that it would be nice and comfortable to review it. So, the conclusions are, if you have task avoidance, you really need to take it as a source of information and use correct prompts and timely prompts and use techniques that focus to help to focus. By this I mean showing them what they can make mistake in preventively again, and teaching self-correction and self-explanation why it's this way and not that way. Very effective. Engage by giving control, like choosing pictures, like choosing the order of things to do, by offering something different. When they make their own crossword and then give it to their dad and see dad struggling filling the crossword, it really works. Gali, I tell you, this is one of the things that works, making parents and grown-ups uncomfortable. Really sets them going. Really love it and use it to your advantage. And also by focusing on tricky bits and exploring these tricky bits together. And on a later stage, you can support by providing the enriched vocabulary and sources of information and showing how to structure the information that you get to retain it. So that's it. Thank you very much. And I'll invite Kayleigh because we now have your questions.
So these are some of the questions that you submitted before coming today. So we just grouped them together. Some of them we've pretty much already covered, but I'm aware we've done a lot of the talking, and we welcome you to share any ideas and any strategies that have worked for you in these areas as well. How can I help with homework? What are we thinking?
Yes, well, I think I talked a lot about it by helping to prioritize, by putting together the structured list of things to do, by prompting rather than pushing through the avoidance behavior, and by engaging, giving them control for just a little bit for that piece. What would be your ideas? Do you have any? Yeah?
Hello, good morning everybody. Actually, I asked the same question during the last session.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody told me that it's better to initiate the homework first start with the subject that he loves. So I am following the technique since 1 month and it really works me a lot. For example, my son is very good in maths and science, but he don't like English. So whenever I come in such kind of situations, I start with his favorite subject for 15-20 minutes to finish maths, and then I say let's try with a different subject. And by doing this, he is really developing interest in doing his homework nowadays.
Oh.
I don't have much problem for the moment.
Nice.
His homework.
Good.
That really helped me.
Yeah, so starting with the good stuff, the yummy stuff first, because it gives him, it sets him for success. It gives him the feeling of that he's capable of. This is really smart. If something that you want to get out of your way, but you feel that it can create this feeling of I'm not really good at it, I'm not really successful at it, probably it's best to start with something that creates this feeling of, accomplishment and feeling good about yourself. Any other? No. Okay.
I just had a bit of a reflection from some of the things that we've discussed today. I'm wondering, what people's thoughts are on it around scheduling, because on one hand, we're talking about the importance of scheduling. Children are scheduled in school every day, and the rationale behind that is to create a sense of psychological safety. So even as ourselves coming into work, we need to know what's coming up next, what's the structure of the day. That helps to keep us on track. But then there's another side of the coin where we're saying children need to be autonomous and we need to develop their autonomy. So where do we find that balance with scheduling, and what does that look like across the years?
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Yes, indeed, it's very important not to overdo it, not to keep it to yourself as parents. So engaging your child in scheduling is one way of gradually gaining this autonomy, helping them through the process, but still engaging them in this. Also. Showing them that it still is flexible, that you can change it if you feel necessary, but this is the workload you have to go through. So if you don't do it now, this is when you are going to have to do it anyway. So you have to make this decision. So it's a bit of decision making and problem solving involved. And on later stages, I would encourage children to use tools, online tools for their own scheduling, and help them get to know these tools better. I think that would be really helpful. And but still, I don't think that we should step away completely. Like looking at what they schedule for themselves could be helpful, because sometimes they underestimate the volume or overestimate their speed of action, so to speak. So what do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I think routine and structure is important for everybody. And I feel scheduling from early years to primary is more structured. There's more set things. And then as children get on to secondary age and beyond, then you need increased levels of flexibility as they're finding themselves and their identity, and then they'll be challenging some of those boundaries that we set for them. But really key, I think, in secondary, scheduling for homework, absolutely crucial, because it's having them in that set routine and set expectations around things. Somebody asked a question about, is there a best time to do homework, whether that's sort of straight away when you get home or later in the evening. There isn't, research is varied, there isn't an answer to that question. It's more people's individual circumstances, context, family dynamics, how that works for you as a family. But there are things that you can do to support them with the homework in terms of having that agreement with them. I think, as you said, it's important to promote autonomy, so where you can include them in setting those schedules and having breaks as well. And sometimes we can overschedule. So we have short attention spans. There's only so long we can sit and listen for, and there's only so long we can concentrate on something. So what science tells us is that short, regular breaks in between study sessions is key to retaining information. If we sit there for 2-3 hours at a time on something, we burn out, and our brain starts to not retain the information anymore. It's not being consolidated in our memory. So right from early years to secondary, they do need regular breaks in between the studying. So sometimes you'll know yourself what their average focus time is for something they're interested in. Once you hit that point, if it's 15-20 minutes, then they can have a break. Even if it's just a walk somewhere and just a change in an activity of choice, and then come back to it. That's what they find sort of the most effective strategy. But in terms of time, there isn't really any concrete research on that.
Yeah, I just wanted to once again show you this slide about this technique with 25 minutes chunks of work. But again, it all depends on individuality of your child. And you as a parent, you obviously know the little signals they give you that they are losing interest, that they are tired. The blank eye, the yawning, the sliding down the chair, You know, all these little things like asking for water and stuff like that. So when you notice it, don't push through it. Try not to push through it. Try to step back and give them that time to regain their focus. And also in this scheduling, one bit I wanted to show here is prioritize meal times. Because sometimes when you do scheduling, you don't set aside enough time for meals. And meals is a fantastic routine for conversations, by the way. So it all works very well together. I'll get back to the questions.
Some of the other questions included things like, what are top indicators for well-being, the top 3 indicators for well-being, which we always know, you know, we understand this where we are today with our knowledge, but that well-being is crucial to engagement with learning. And so the 3 essentials are what we've spoke about. It's usually relationships with family, relationships with friends, and school environment. They're the 3 biggest predictors, and when you think about that, that's where children spend their time. But a lot of well-being indicators are relationship based. And in terms of building resilience, I think it's a very broad area. It depends on individual life circumstances, levels of adversity experience, various factors. But a key indicator for resilience again is the social connections, but also mindset and willingness to make mistakes is key there. We actually created as a school a Padlet where we have lots of information on this.
I'll get it's this one.
Yeah.
This one.
And with my colleagues, we developed a course based on the doctoral research we did around things like attention and listening throughout the years and social emotional development. So the QR codes will lead you to those pages if you want any more information, and you can put the details in there. And the school Padlet just gives resources that have been researched and linked to the positive education ethos, which is helpful for children as well.
I just wanted to attest to it. I did use that resource, and it really contains some very interesting and useful pieces of information and advice. Okay, I just also wanted to ask, yes, you have a question, perfect. Can we get the copy of the presentation? I think so.
I will double check we're able to send it if we are able.
Yes. I can provide with the list of resources that are there on presentations, definitely.
I'm sure it'll be fine for us to put it,
Yeah. So one other thing, do you have any special ways to prevent your children going into this loop of, oh no, I'm making mistakes, it's bad, and that's why I'm not going to do it because I'm making mistakes, and I'm making mistakes because I'm not doing it. Do you have any? No such. So she has this firmly in. I think you have it, right? Yeah, she has this firmly engraved in her already, right? That there is no. Yeah, it's a learning.
When she makes a mistake, she's clearly trying, and that's great.
Yes, nice. Any other phrases, like words that you use to describe? Not using the word mistake is one way at all. One thing that I find very helpful in math, because my child is okay with math, but sometimes with Education City, when you have those percentages, and when he doesn't get the 100% at the first go during the homework, he gets really upset. I don't want to do it, I don't. So the trick is not to look at the percentages, right? And to count the progress across the attempts rather than the results. So this resetting of focus, change of angle, when you focus on progress rather than the ultimate results, is also something that I find very helpful. Sorry.
Do we have any more questions before we wrap up?
No?
Well, thank you so much for coming this morning. Feel free to stop by on the way out if you have anything you wanted to share with us, and we'll post the information for the next session over the next couple of weeks.
Thank you. Thank you very much.